To install the carousel. It doesn't matter what the numbers at the bottom say here for the beginning of this installation, because all you're going to do is put it in. The library is going to line it back up when it gets everything installed. Come in through the front, come up through the hole in the top, bring it in, set it down, making sure that the edge of the carousel falls inside the sensor to the side, and it falls in just like that. Then you'll take and put the top mounting bracket in place, making sure that the flat side here is towards the back of the library. This is so you can change the power supply without having to pull out the carousel. And once that's in place, you then put in the 3 screws in the top here to mount it in place. Once you put these screws in, the carousel will be completely installed. Once again, all you have to do is make them snug, and the other key thing is to make sure that the flat edge is to the back of the library. Next, we're going to install the handler power supply. Once it's in place, you just snap the cables in place for their connections. Then you have 4 screws to mount the assembly in place. Now we'll put the screen on to protect the unit, and now you've reinstalled your handler power supply. The next thing we're going to go ahead and install is the I/O port. Take and insert it in from the front in an angle so it goes up. And once it's in position, it's easy to know you got the right position because it'll come through the front panel and line up for us like that. And then you have 5 screws to put in place. Then you have your cable connection that you need to reattach to the back of the I/O port, and your call button to push back onto the front. Now your I/O port is reinstalled. Next, we're going to put the handler back into the unit. But before we do that, I want to quickly show you how easy it is to change the barcode reader. One of the biggest issues we see with the barcode reader is either this connection or this connection is not properly inserted. This is just a regular telephone type connection, and when you put it in, you should hear it snap. This connection here, a lot of people pull on these wires here instead of the connection itself, and it pulls the wires out. This will also cause a bad reading on the barcode reader, and it will not function properly. In the event that that occurs, all you need to do is to move the handler back and take out this screw right here. Then move it forward by turning it. And removing this other screw. When you remove both screws, the whole thing comes off in your hand. Now then, when you put these in at a new installation, you have to make sure this bracket's on properly, because if this bracket is put on backwards, it will also cause the barcode reader to read either the tape above or the tape below the one it's trying to read. And that's the most common error we find when someone's trying to put these on out in the field. When you put it in place, you just line it back up. Use your 2 screws again. Making sure they sit flush so that nothing restricts the movement of the handler going forward and backwards. And once it's in place, you can move the handler back into its insertion point. Now then, you'll notice while I have the handler, and I'm going to show you what's unique about this, is that as this unit goes up and down inside your library, it has a sensor that's here and here. You'll notice this one's on a canted angle. The reason this one's on a canted angle is because it actually goes by and checks which slots in your magazines have tapes in them. So even if you didn't have a barcode reader, you'd still know what slots were occupied with a tape. It also detects a tape setting here in the handler as it goes up and down. So it serves a dual purpose for this sensor. Making sure everything is well connected. One other thing is a fair heads up on this is there's this black wire running here. You need to make sure that this black wire stays back out of the way. If it happens to extend out this way from here, it will block and break the Y clear sensor, and your library will get a Y sensor clear problem, and it will not allow the library to operate because it thinks the path is being blocked. So make sure this black wire is well out of the way. Now to put it back into the library, set it inside the library, lift up on the silver rod, making sure that this little orange washer stays down in place in the bottom of the library. With that done, just put it in place, set it down on that washer, let the pole come back through, lift up slightly on the pole so that you can see the hole and make sure everything aligns, and set the pole down in, set the handler down at the bottom. Then take the second pole that you took out and insert it from the top, letting it guide through very slowly, making sure that it goes through the front hole of the handler and sets down inside its hole in the bottom of the library. Once you have these two parts in place, you let the handler come down and put your braces back together on the top of the library using 4 screws to mount them in place. And once you snug these down, your next thing you're going to do is to lift the handler as far up as you can, take the lead screw and insert it very gently through the top hole, trying very carefully not to rub the sides, set it inside the carriage and let it float to the bottom. And when it gets to the bottom, you leave it rest on the bottom and turn this top screw so that this goes all the way through. Then the next thing you have to do is lay the library on its side to put the screw in the bottom that you took out. Take your Allen wrench or your hex driver and tighten it up to where it is snug. You'll notice my hand is inside here. All I'm doing is feeling whether or not the lead screw is turning. That way it's held in place. Next, once you have the library back up again, put your screw in the top, your hex wrench at the top here, and go once again your quarter turn to a half turn in a clockwise direction. This now makes this compression nut put tension onside the lead screw, so it doesn't, so it allows the stability of the handler going up and down.